Well, things are a little different than the last couple of years in recruiting with two separate signing dates. So we kind of do this twice. The first one being in September when we signed 14. Now we've added 8. Not all of them had to sign national letters of intent because a couple of them had already signed national letters of intent. They're graduates coming in from Oregon and BYU. So they signed grant and aids. And then we have a junior college player that's already here in school. He never signed a letter of intent either, but as soon as he registered in school, it's just like signing a letter of intent. So we have 22 guys for next year's team, with the possibility, the way things are now, there's a free agent market out there basically with a website where any kid that wants to transfer, all he has to do is put his name on the website, and we monitor that. And I would guess after everybody has their spring practice, that website might go crazy when they figure out they're not starters. So we monitor that so that we still might add a guy or two along the way somewhere. But obviously we had certain positions that we had to get some help, and some of those positions with older guys. So we have the two graduate transfers, and we have 3 junior college guys on the list now.
After going through this twice, Rocky, and your team is kind of shaped up, what are you thinking, expecting out of the guys you've got?
Well, the way recruiting goes now, I think that it has really helped us, because in the past we'd have some guys committed early on, and then between December and February, some other people would come and poach them. Well, since those kids sign early now, they can't do that anymore. So what we're looking for is, we think we got a bunch of really good freshmen, but obviously you can't count on freshmen. That's why you see a few older guys in this class to try to. We have a large sophomore class and a large freshman class that'll be redshirt freshmen, and our senior and junior class is not very big. So obviously we're trying to get a few extra older guys in the junior class or senior class and/or senior class, so that we're a little bit older next year and have a little bit more maturity on our team.
Rocky, is there any thought or plan to move more to spread offense, more passing, and was the recruiting class representative of doing that?
I don't think the recruiting class is representative of that. We are in the process now of evaluating our offense. I don't think that means we're changing our philosophy whatsoever. It just means that there might be more spread formations. If you've watched a couple of the teams we played this year, they line up in spread all the time, but that's not their mentality. They're running the ball first and still trying to run the clock and still trying to keep the other team's offense off the field. They just kind of spread you with wide receivers and/or tight ends, very similar to what you saw in the Super Bowl. Both those teams like to run the ball, but that doesn't mean those formations are such that they have to run the ball. And what that does is make the blocking assignments much simpler for both run and pass. If you put a wide receiver or a tight end and you put them out there by the numbers, the defense is always going to send a guy out there with them. So if you send 2 or 3 guys out there, the defense will send 2 or 3 guys out there, so it makes it simpler in the box at the line of scrimmage for those guys to figure out who they block and all those sort of things.
Does the fullback go away in a spread formation now, but you can still bust plays, chunk plays with a one back?
Well, I think there's times we're going to be in a 2-back formation. But what people are doing now to get a fullback in there is they have tight ends. And they'll line the tight end up in the backfield or in a wing, and they use him just like a fullback. So if you watch the NFL now, when they go to what we call 12 personnel, which means 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and 1 running back, those tight ends are good enough receivers. They put them out in the slot. They put them out at the wideout. And you have to go out there and cover them. And if they want to run any kind of I formation plays, they take one of those tight ends and put them in the backfield and make them a fullback. So as they put personnel in the game, you have no idea what formation they're going to be in. If you have a tailback and a fullback in the game, I can tell you the 3 formations that you're going to line up in.
Coach assigned 11 linemen, 6 on the defense, 5 on the offense. What's kind of the mentality behind that in terms of boosting the line of scrimmage?
Well, we had a lot of seniors last year, or we had guys that are no longer with us in the offensive line, but we had 4 seniors in the defensive line. So we have spots that we had to fill. And we were lucky we got 1 junior college guy in that group to help us be a little bit older in the D line. And we're a little bit older in the offensive line because we got 2 graduate transfers in the offensive line. So it's to take over for the guys that we lost, and we lost them for one reason or another.
Rocky, tell us about the addition of Brady Hoke and how the process developed that he was available and how you brought him in.
Well, I told you a long time ago we were evaluating our program, and I thought that we needed some more experience in our coaching staff. So not only were we able to hire Brady, we also hired Ron Carragher. And then Ron has been here a year, but he was our recruiting coordinator. And he was our recruiting coordinator up till today. Now he's on the field coach. And Ron has great experience, has proven that he knows what he's doing on offense. He's also our passing game coordinator because we're talking about changing our formations and all those sort of things, and he has experience in that. I thought we needed some help with, since our defensive line is so young, I thought we needed some experienced help there. And you always go out and you try to hire the very best coaches you can hire. Well, Brady's one of the best defensive line coaches I've ever been around. And he happened to be looking for a job, and him and I are buddies, so he decided to come. And he's taken a hell of a cut in pay to come here.
What happened just before the Frisco Bowl is in the past, hopefully, but you sent a message that no player, no game is too important for team rules to be broken. How is that going to affect the intangibles, both with the recruiting class and the team next year?
Well, I think that's our philosophy all year long around here. We have team rules, and if they don't abide by the team rules, there is discipline to be handed out. Some of it's severe, some of it's not, depending on the mistake that the young man makes. I don't necessarily think that will make a huge difference in our team, because every year we get new players, and every year our players are from 18 to 22 years old. And when you were that age, I don't know what you were like, but I was liable to do anything, and they are too. But, I mean, we have a standard they have to live with, and if they don't live with the standard, we move on and they move on.
Being a veteran coach, does that make it easier for you to hire guys who were former head coaches as opposed to if you were younger and maybe looking over your shoulder?
I got to say this the right way. I think hiring former head coaches really helps a head coach for several reasons. You don't become a head coach unless you've been a pretty good assistant coach along the way. You won't get to be a head coach. Former head coaches also know what a head coach has to go through, and a head coach does. When you're a younger coach and you want to be a head coach, you second guess a head coach a lot about, well, if I was in charge, I'd do it this way. If they'd let me do it, I'd do it this way. And most of the time, you don't know what you're talking about at all. Well, when you have other head coaches on your staff, they know exactly what you're doing. They don't second guess you. They have great experience. They relate to the players. They can give you some ideas about how to handle things that might be from way back or they experienced once, so you don't make the same mistake more than once or twice. Any head coach that doesn't want to hire former head coaches, they're insecure. They're worried. They don't think they're good enough. I don't have any problem hiring head coaches. In fact, I'd like all of them to be former head coaches.
I know you
What's
can't
the
speak,
intent?
you can't speak for him, but what's his reaction been to coming back?
Well, he's only been here for a couple of days. I think here's another thing about head coaches. When you actually get a chance to be a position coach again, it's a lot of fun. And I think he's excited, and I think he's ready to make our young defensive linemen a lot better, and I think he's going to have fun getting to coach again. Everybody thinks it's a wonderful deal to be a head coach. It's a lot more fun to be a position coach.
What's the intangible that he brings?
I think he relates to players really well. I already said this. I think he's the best D-line coach I've ever been around. And I have first-hand experience in two places. I was at Oregon State. I was the D coordinator. He was the D-line coach. And when he was the head coach here and I was the D coordinator, he came in very nicely and asked me if I mind if he worked with the D-line, which I said I didn't care at all. So I've seen him work with defensive linemen for several years, and he's one of the best at it. And he'll embrace those kids, and he'll get really involved with them, and they will be much, much better in a lot of ways, not just on the football field. They'll be a lot better the rest of their lives because that's just the kind of guy he is.
Speaking of those defensive linemen, what's your experience been? Is a kid that comes in as a transfer, as an older guy, more likely to make an impact, or a kid that's redshirt and knows the system more likely to make an impact?
It all depends on the kid. But if a young man has played for 2 years in junior college and he's played all 11 games, I don't know what your experience is. There's a lot of physical development between being an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old. So not necessarily, I mean, you ought to be a little bit more mature mentally, but a lot of times you're a lot more mature physically. In fact, the D lineman that we signed is, I read it, he's not quite 6 foot tall. It says he's 6 foot tall, but he is 315 pounds. You know, and we've been playing with a lot of undersized D linemen, which we'll continue to do in some cases, but there are times nowadays that you would be better off with a little more size and a little more maturity in there.
You gonna shift any guys to try and add some depth to the defense now?
Yeah, we've already moved a couple guys that aren't really D linemen, but they're bigger and stronger. We moved an offensive lineman over, Laji, and I would say his last name for you, but I can't pronounce it. We moved him over. We're going to try him at nose guard. We moved DeLon Jamont, who's an offensive lineman. We moved him over. We moved him over during the fall to try to get some more size over there.
Could you talk about the quarterback, Jordan, the JC transfer,
Mhm.
Laney, and like how he led the team to the state JUCO championship?
I think he has a lot of ability. And I've already been asked this on the radio, so I'll say it here. Ryan Agnew is our starting quarterback when spring practice starts. But there's open competition to find out who our starting quarterback is for the first game of the season. We thought we needed to bring in some guys that have had success. I mean, we're talking about grad transfers. There's a grad transfer out there we're still working on, too. Obviously, I can't tell you who it is, but he has been a starting quarterback at the Division I level for a couple of years and then got beat out, so he's looking for a spot, too. We want competition at every position on our team. I think there's been some players in our program that have been very happy. Did not think that they could beat out, so the competition level in their mind probably went down a little bit. That's one of the things we're changing. We're changing in the off season too on what we're doing in the off season. If you want to come watch, we go at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Y'all can come watch. We're not going to have that no more. We're going to be the most competitive football team on the field. Does not mean we're going to win, but we will be the most competitive and toughest football team on the field.
The fact that Jordan could run, he's kind of a dual threat quarterback, is that something you kind of want your offense to shift where you have a quarterback?
Well, I think a quarterback that can run always has a little leg up because he can get out of trouble and make plays. That's what Ryan Agnew does the best.
Are there any players that were part of this last year who have left the program, aside from Romer and the graduates? Are there any?
Yeah, we've had I think 6 of our players that will or have already graduated. We have some that have already graduated. We have one that will have his master's degree by the end of this semester, and we have 4 others that will have their degree by the end of this semester. they've decided that they want to move on with their lives, and so they won't play next year. Even though they have one year left of eligibility, they could have played. They decided that they didn't want to go through this offseason.
Who are they?
Oh, I got a list. I'll tell you later.
Which gives
That's not the point of this press conference. The point of this press conference is our new coaches and the kids we signed.
which gives you a few more scholarships than you thought you had in fall.
That's why we signed 22.
Yeah.
When going into it, we thought we were going to sign 14 or 15. There might be even, well, now we actually can count 2 of these kids back to last year's signing class. So we can sign all the way up to 27 this year. And that's a possibility. Before this is all said and done, we might have 27 new guys on our team.
How many early guys will you have here for spring practice? Will the upper graduate?
No, it's the only new guy we got is the junior college quarterback that'll be here for spring ball.
So the others will be?
The other ones will be here for summer school.
What about the lineman? The captain?
Oh, no, he's already here. The grad transfer from Oregon, offensive lineman, is already here. He's here too, yeah.
His brother?
And his little brother's here too, yep. Now, his little brother's a high school kid that graduated early, yeah.
How many early kids have you got on campus? High school kids?
Just one,
Just one.
just one.
Is
I
the-
forgot about Capper being here too.
Is the BYU offensive lineman and the Oregon lineman both going to be here for spring?
No, just the Oregon lineman will be here for spring.
Back to Brady, how else do you think he could impact your program or help it beyond the defensive line?
No, I mean, he's got a lot of experience on how to play defense, so he'll help with the scheme on defense. And I've been around him as an assistant coach before, and he's a good recruiter. So he'll do a nice job recruiting for us wherever I don't know where he's going to recruit yet, but he'll do a good job recruiting when we determine what his recruiting area is.
Seems like right place, right time to bring him back. Do you see him sticking around for a while or still having aspirations to be a head coach?
I don't know. I haven't asked him. I just asked him if he wanted to be our D-line coach. And he was really happy to accept.
You surprised how rocky it has been for him since he left here?
Well, I don't know if that's true or not. He's had a couple bad breaks along the way. And that happens to coaches at different times in their careers. Very, very few coaches are lucky enough or good enough to stay in the same place for a long time. Sometimes you leave because it's your choice, and sometimes you leave because someone else has decided it's time for you to leave. And, sometimes it's just the luck of the draw. You go someplace where they're on their last leg and you don't change things, and you have to move on.
Would he have been your first choice, or did you entertain thoughts of other people?
No, he was my first choice. I've offered him a job a couple times since he's been gone, when he was out of work. He finally decided I was the right guy to work for.
I know it was really beyond the control of your 2019 seniors, that the class that was 11-3 freshmen and 10-3 sophomores were 7-6 last year. But how are they? Have they made that decision that they really want to improve from what by Rocky Long standards is a bad season?
What makes our team want to improve? Is that the question?
Yeah, I mean, what's the mentality the players are taking to make sure that the seniors are going to be the leaders this year? What's the mentality they're taking to make sure that we go back to the earlier years in terms of one loss record?
I don't know exactly how to answer that, other than that we're returning to some of the things that we've done in the off season that we used to do that we haven't done for the last 3 years. And some of it is how we handle them as coaches, and some of it is how we do our off-season workouts. And then obviously, we have spring practice. We have great kids in our program, great kids. And have you seen the commercial, "Okay is not okay"? They have too. Because around here, okay is not okay. we're expected to be good around here, and if you don't want to work that way to be good, you can be okay someplace else. They have been told that several times in the last couple, 3 weeks. And as I said, we got great kids in our program. Guess what? They're great kids, and most of them are really good competitors. So that's a challenge to them. And the ones that shy from that challenge, well, they'll play someplace else.
When you evaluated this thing at the end of the season, you told us how disappointed you were. What did you find was wrong? Was it culture? Was it just the injuries? Was it youth? Was there one overriding factor that?
I'm glad you put it that way. There was not one overriding factor. There's about 100 things that you can point to. You know what? We didn't have a locker room last spring. We didn't have a spring game last year. We had to practice in the Charger Park. We lost our starting tailback, our starting fullback, and our starting quarterback right halfway through the season. We had injuries to 3 offensive linemen that they didn't get to play the rest of the year. I mean, I can give you the list. I got the list in my office. It's 123 things that were different last year, and some of them we had no control over. We didn't have any control over them at all. It just happened that way. And if you can pick out which one of those 123 things was the overriding factor, I'm listening.
Getting back to the 2 graduate transfers, how many years eligibility do they have?
We think, because this is a process of elimination, we think they're going to have 2. Both of them are going to have 2 years of eligibility. This is a process of academics and all sort of things.
Rocky, I know this isn't the point of the press conference, but the San Diego Fleet has its season opener this weekend. There's a handful of Aztecs that are on the Fleet's roster. Do you plan to follow them at all? And how are you feeling about some of the old players?
I am planning on following them, and it's really fun because they've been around here. They've been wandering around here. They come up and say hi. Some of them work out here. And to be honest with you, any kind of pro football player that wants, Pumphrey's around here, Rashad Penny's around here. You want, from a coach's point of view, when former players that have had great success want to come home, makes you feel good. And when the younger players in the program see those guys come back, it makes them feel good too, because they're all striving to be NFL guys. And that new league gives all those guys that didn't quite make it to the NFL, gives them one more shot to try to make it to the NFL. So, yeah, we're pulling for them. We hope they win every game, and we hope that next year they're getting a Super Bowl ring like Calvin Munson is. I mean, we've had 2 guys get Super Bowl rings the last 2 years. That's pretty cool now. And guess what? Munson came back last semester and got his degree. I saw Pumphrey down in the weight room today. Him and Rashad Penny were working out together. I mean, that makes a coach, and that makes the other players in the program, that makes us proud and happy, and it's kind of fun to have them around. I wish they could play again. That would work too.
Any of your current running backs with them?
Well, no, they see them. We have standards around here. The pros work out down there because they don't work hard enough. Our team works out down there because they work hard enough. Now, that's the truth, by the way. I mean, the pros have their own workout, and they do it at their own speed. Our guys get it done in 1 hour, what they take 2.5 hours to do.
Can you talk about the thought process behind adding a passing coordinator and how he works with the offensive coordinator, and what else that brings to the table?
I think that we have a little lack of experience on our coaching staff with spread concepts in the passing game. So any kind of help you can give with experience, and Ron Carragher is a very experienced coach, been a head coach at several places, and that's basically his offense. And it's not like I haven't worked with Ron before. Ron and I were on the same UCLA staff together. But his expertise with Jeff Horton's expertise, it can't do anything but make us better. And so I think adding Ron gives us a lot of experience, and he has a little more expertise in that kind of offense than the guys on our staff have in the past.
So then his input over the next several months, important when he's on the field in the game situation, uses that too.
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, we have really good kids in our program. We have really good guys on our coaching staff, too. That's why I hire an ex-head coach. There's no egos around here. If it means we're going to run the ball 50 times in a game to win, nobody's going to take offense. If it means we have to throw the ball 50 times to win a game, nobody's going to take offense, and nobody's going to take the credit. That's unusual in a coaching staff, too, because there's a lot of coaching staffs in this world that are competing to see who can beat their chest the hardest so they get the bigger job and a head coaching job. Our staff's not like that. And that's because we have a bunch of ex-head coaches on our staff.
At the end of last season, did you take over play calling on defense in the bowl game or some other games?
I've called the defense ever since I've been here. I've never given up the defensive calling to anybody.
How's your health of your team looking forward to spring?
It's okay. I mean, we got Zach Thomas probably won't practice this spring. Everybody else should, even though we have a couple guys coming off shoulders. Everybody should practice this spring except for Zach Thomas.
I think I saw Tim in a walking boot.
Yeah, he's well. Yeah, he had something with his foot that he had operated on. He's supposed to be cleared. Now, that doesn't mean they can, but he's supposed to be cleared to be full speed by next Monday. That's the doctor's opinion anyway. I don't know if that's Tim's opinion, but that's the doctor's opinion.